Okay, in this next image, this is an image that I'm going to show you what it looked like when I first opened it. If I can get it to go there. So you notice that it's kind of dark when you do black and white images, or when you're trying to edit images of drawings. You can have a real difficult time because the lighting is a problem, and it's hard to have good lights behind the image. So what I did here is I went to my adjustment tab, and I chose curves, and then I took this dropper right here. So I'm going to sample from image to set the white point, and I go anywhere that the image is supposed to be white, and that's the point that I'm going to set white. And it made it really quite bright. So I'm going to go cancel, and I'll show you that one more time. So adjustment, and I did curves, and then I'm going to click and set the image, the part that I want it to be white. So I'm going to go right here, and I'll click OK, and now I've got a nice bright image. One other thing I wanted to talk about quickly with this image is the cropping. It can be a challenge because the photograph wasn't taken with the image very straight in the camera, and so it's going to require a little more cropping. So if I crop it, you can see how we have a lot of space up here, for instance, that and then down here where you're still going to see the whiteboard behind the image. So then I'm going to have to come in and just crop a little more out of that picture. And you need to pay careful attention to this, because if it really affects your composition and changes the way your original image looked so much that it kind of ruins your center of interest, or the movement in your picture and the way your eye moves, or it creates problems where, for instance, it wouldn't be a good thing to leave this curve here touching the very edge of the picture. So I'm going to pull that back just a little bit more, so we have a little white space by that curve. So if you're going to have a lot of problems as you're doing this, then you may want to just retake the photograph and make sure that it's nice and straight before we actually take the picture. So let me go ahead and show you that, and then I would go and use my clone stamping tricks that I showed you in the previous video to get rid of the rest of the distractions, which are these little hints we have here and here of the magnets showing. But other than that, there's not too many more problems with this image now that we've got it nice and bright. So you can have a little more trouble with a drawing, and I will see if I can find a picture of a drawing to show you some of the other options that you can choose when you're editing the trying to get it nice, so you have nice whites and good grays and good blacks in your drawing, and you're always trying to make it look just like the image, but I'll see if I can find a picture of that. Okay, so I've located an image of a drawing that definitely I believe this was done on white paper, and you can tell that it's just really hard to see. The brightness is gone. There's not a lot of white there, and like I said, I can't remember for sure if it was on white paper, but that's what we're going to assume is that it was done on white paper. So I've opened it up. It's already been cropped, and looks good in that regard as far as the cropping and the making sure there's nothing distracting left on that picture. So I'm going to go over here to my adjustments. I'm going to choose curves again. I'm going to take this white dropper, and I'm going to go out here to where I know the paper would be, and I'm going to move that so that it is white. Then I'm going to click OK, and it might still be a little bit bright. So now I could go to my levels, and here you're going to see some different sliders, some boxes, and I can slide things up and down and change a little bit. So now I'm going to have more gray tone and less white. If I do it in the bottom bar, it's going to be more black and white changes. Here I can get white, so I could decrease the whites just a little bit, or this is actually taking them and making them way brighter. Here I'm going to slide that the mid-tone range up and down just a little bit and see how that looks. And then I'm going to try and fix my darks a little bit and see how that works. So sometimes you just kind of have to play around with the levels. The most important thing to remember that you're trying to do with this when you are um, trying to edit a drawing is to make it look as much like the original drawing, your original drawing, as you possibly can. And so you can just see how as I move things up and down, it changes it. So what we want to have is some nice lights without it being too bright, and also I want some good mid-tone values, and I also want to have some good darks in there, but I don't want it to be so dark that you can't see anything and that it doesn't, that it just doesn't look like your original picture looked. And so I'm thinking this looks a little bit better, but this is me editing somebody else's drawing and I don't have the drawing right in front of me right now, but I think this would be an okay version of a picture to have. So I'm going to that's another example of a couple of different adjustments. So again, we did the curves and we chose our white point, and that's how it looked there. So here's the image when we first opened it. Here it is where we found the white point, and then when we adjusted the levels. And so you can see from the beginning and what we ended up with at the end. And so those are some different settings up here in this adjustment tab that you can work with to take care of some of the problems you have when photographing drawings.